What's going on, awesome people? Welcome to episode 18 of Countdown to Freedom in Iran. My name is Iman Hushman. I have the pleasure of hosting yet another Wednesday program with all of you. It's Wednesday, May 3rd, and I just want to thank you all once again for joining. It's always great to have some familiar faces, which I see coming up very soon. But also, if there's anybody new here and you don't know exactly what Countdown to Freedom in Iran is, it's the only weekly English-speaking live stream dedicated to what's happening to Iran. We always start off with a great news update, courtesy of the one and only Paris Mansouri. And then we always have a Uniters update. Uniters update is pretty much what the Unite and Conquer family is up to. We're constantly trying to do different things in person, online, in South Florida, in the DMV area, whatever we can to raise awareness, amplify the voice of Iranians, to unify the community, and really just try to make it through this roller coaster of life, and so we always have also something like either like a mental health minute, or we have a mindful moment. Today we have a mindful moment. Dr. Shiva Jahani is going to have something great to share with us, as she always does. And then we also have our special guest tonight. Her name is Sarah Raviani. She's joining us from Dallas, Texas. She has been, first of all, a human rights activist, but she's also been focused on legislative advocacy. She was an integral person in the passing of the Massa Act in the Foreign House Committee. So alongside a few other individuals, such as our dear friend Massa Townsend, and some other people such as Mel and Nick, they really worked extremely hard to make sure that this important bill is at least moved forward. And so she's going to tell us a little bit how she got involved in that, and where we are right now with the Massa Act, and what we can hope to see accomplish during the next steps. So I think it's time to get Paris on here, because pretty much, let's be real, that's what we all come here for, to hear from Paris Mansouri. So good evening to everybody. So good to have you all here. Let's get this with Paris Mansouri from the beautiful city of Montreal. And hello to Paris June's mom, who always joins us as well. It's always great to have her as part of the program.
Let's face it, we're here for all the stories. I seriously doubt anyone's here for the miserable
Always good
news.
to see you. You have a nice different hair get up today too, doing a little
I feel like is this the first time
I
you
think
see
so.
me with
Perhaps
pulled
it could
back
be.
hair?
I mean, we go back about 20 years, so I'm sure you've done it before. But by the way, can you bring a camera? There we go. All right, perfect. Yes, when you have
Lower?
pullback hair, it's
Does
very
that
important
work?
to be very square centered.
Okay.
But yeah, so
Okay.
but how are you doing overall? Just very briefly, people want to know.
Uh, Actually, I think everyone wants to know what's going on, but if anyone's tuning in right now during this new segment, we always talk about unfortunate individuals who are detained, arrested, and there's a story that hits very, very close to home this week. We really are counting on the entire community to help us spread the word. We do every week about all the individuals who are unrightfully and unjustly arrested, but this one is hitting close to home, and it's, one of our uniters, and we're going to do the best that we can to amplify her voice and his voice and get his story out there. So please stay
We're
tuned
definitely going to
and
get
please
to
help us
that. We
share the
definitely
story.
were jolted a little bit to kind of hear a story from one of our own uniters, telling us how she's been affected by this with a family member, which you'll get into. So we are on day 227. Just a couple of days ago, May 1st, it was actually International Workers' Day and Labor Day in different countries across the world. How was a day marked by the Islamic regime?
So it's a day where we recognize our labor forces, the individuals that keep our nations going. This has been done globally. And in fact, before 1979, it was an incredibly important day under the Pahlavi regime. and really commemorating and doing their best to support the labor movement. But it's not like that anymore in Iran. The Islamic regime marked the day by summoning 50 labor activists, and basically security agents warned them that they are forbidden to attend any gatherings or commemorate the event. So that's how we do it under the Islamic regime. Just basically tie down your labor force, the people who are keeping the nation running. According to new Iran Wire, retirees still did gather outside labor and social security departments. They also took part in protests. Workers at more than 110 industrial, petrochemical, and manufacturing plants joined nationwide strikes. They're protesting against poor wages and also inhumane working conditions, very dangerous working conditions. We know that the labor laws are not very closely followed under the Islamic regime. And many of them are basically protesting not only under government threat, but also under the threat of losing their jobs. There has been one company that actually went public and saying, if you protest, if you don't show up, and if you strike, we're going to fire you. So these are individuals under severe duress and who are still risking their livelihoods to get their message out there.
Moving on to, a lot of people have been talking about how things have kind of calmed down in Iran, but between the labor protests and nighttime protests, it seems like actually in Iran, people are hitting the streets. So tell us a little bit more about what's happening in that regard.
So the protests never stopped. The media coverage has stopped. But for those of us who are following the stories, we know that, yes, perhaps they're interspersed. Maybe there aren't hundreds of thousands of people showing up, but every single day there are some people protesting, whatever the issue may be. And as we know, there are a lot of issues in the nation, and a lot of people are voicing their opposition to the Islamic regime. Now, the footage that's being shared are showing chants that are anti-Islamic, anti-cleric. They're calling for regime change, as they were, earlier on in this revolution. And this is definitely happening despite the strong enforcement of hijab laws. So as we know, a lot of women are basically flouting hijab laws and saying, we're not going to follow your rules, and they're doing this at great danger. But Iran International has reported that the supreme leader has said that flouting hijab is, quote, and I'm looking on the side because that's where my notes are, religiously and politically haram. That is a quote. And haram means basically illegal and not permitted under Islamic law. At a meeting with state officials in April, Khamenei also claimed that it's foreign sources that are encouraging Iranian women to disobey mandatory hijab. So again, blaming outsiders, but not exactly allowing women to basically voice their opinion on what they should and shouldn't wear. The other thing that he said is, quote, discarding hijab is haram based on Sharia and also politically. And basically the declaration, what we have to understand is when Khamenei says something like that, it's not random. It's not just him saying it and people forget. That basically makes it a massive decree, and that basically gives all levels of law enforcement the authority to basically act on the strictest measure and be extremely harsh with women and those who support women who are flouting hijab laws. So please understand that when you are seeing women do that, it's not like, oh, they're just protesting. No, they're literally risking their lives and putting themselves on the line.
I can't even imagine the courage that it takes to be walking down the street every second, knowing that by doing this, you're putting your entire life at risk. It's insanity. Which is
Phoenix Thriving Therapy, Shahrajun, who's a uniter, she says the fortitude of Iranian people is unprecedented. It truly is. And the only way they still keep getting the message out there is by sharing the stories, because as we know, the media is no longer covering it as it should be.
The untrustworthy media, the Wall Street Journal has a report out about how the Islamic regime has been hiding inflation data. What are the details on that?
Yes, so the Wall Street Journal just came out with it this week. Basically, they're saying that the Islamic regime has been publishing monthly inflation data for decades, but for the past 2 months, they have not been revealing their stats. Now, the stats authority in Iran and under the Islamic regime says that they're doing this because they're just changing their base year for which they're basing their numbers. That's the excuse. But other analysts are saying that, this is basically not how things are done, and they're very much questioning the reason why these numbers are not being shared. The reformist daily newspaper Etemad said last week that the regime was seeking to, quote, play with figures to decrease the inflation rate, which, as we know, has been astronomical. So the recent figures published by the Statistical Center of Iran says the inflation rate is at 47.7%. 47.7, like we get 3% in anywhere else, or a 1%, and it still hits people hard. Now imagine if it's 47.7%. An analyst who spoke to the Financial Times said that inflation possibly surpassed 49%, which is a rate that had been reached in 1995, which is the highest on record. The rial has lost more than a third of its value. And you have to understand that all the major companies that do business with the Islamic regime are paying in US dollars. But the Islamic regime, the companies are paying employees with a rial. And the rial being at a third of its value, you can just imagine that the devalued currency, what that is doing to the nation. The private sector shopkeepers say the cost of chicken has increased by about 30% in the past month, although the prices are lower in state-run stores. Already we're seeing a massive discrepancy on who has access to what. It is basically food and paying for your livelihood is at a stake here, and it just seems like the Islamic regime is doing nothing to help its people.
There's a little birdie that's been telling me that the Islamic Republic has a official that's made a concerning statement about the selling of the Persian Gulf island of Kish and is it Chesh? Okay, so what is that all about?
So if you guys have ever, I don't know, on my socials, I always post this, but there are some incredible places in Iran. Like you would think you're in the Seychelles, you would think you're in some of the most exotic locations. And so in southern Iran, oftentimes these views are coming from the islands of Kish and Kish. And basically what we're talking about, all of the difficulties and the financial difficulties that the Islamic regime is facing is basically the plundering of the nation's wealth. The IRGC, the regimes, the Ayatollah is basically taking the wealth, robbing the state and robbing the coffers, keeping the money for themselves. And meanwhile, everyone else is left to fend for themselves. So what they're suggesting now is selling parts of the country to make ends meet. So this is a report that's been substantiated by Iran International. According to them, Iran's Ministry of Labor, Sajjad Padam, has says that they may sell these islands to pay off what is owed to pensioners. Now, listen closely. According to this report, the total amount that has been due to pensioners is at $9 billion US. That's how much they owe to Iranian pensioners. That's how much has not been paid. So there are nearly 6 million pensioners living in Iran. In 2021, the Supreme Audit Council said that 89% of retirees have a monthly salary of between 50 and 100 million riyals. That's $200 to $300. Like that's the pension money, $200 to $300, which is believed to be much lower now since the value of the currency has gone down. Iran's retirement age is 60 for men, 55 for women. But over 55% of senior citizens have not been receiving their pensions. And now 35% of our senior citizens are living below the poverty line. So now, not only are they robbing the nation, but the people are tremendously suffering. And the answer to this is apparently selling some of our most basic, not that any part of our nation is most prized than the other, but our islands in the south are incredible, and we're going to lose them because of mismanagement.
44 years of mismanagement. The word mismanagement is too kind of a word, not deserving of what they've actually done. April 30th was Persian Gulf Day. Why is this day needed, and why is it important to mark the occasion?
Did you know about Persian Gulf Day, by the way?
I'm just glad that they're not calling it the Arabian Gulf Day. At least.
Well, that's why it's important, Iman, because some people are calling it the Arabian Gulf. The American Navy refers to it as the Arabian Gulf. I don't know if you know, but Rolls-Royce did something called a color called Arabian Gulf Blue. This is Rolls-Royce. These are some of the biggest brands in the world.
I'm not going to be supporting no company.
Well, you'd be surprised at how many people in living in the Middle East and living in Qatar, I remember that they never referred to it as the Persian Gulf. They referred to it as the Arabian Gulf. It's what they've been saying. And it's, if you look at Arab textbooks in the Middle East, they refer to it as Arabian Gulf. And as we know, these nations from Saudi Arabia to Dubai, they've been, you know, making incredible headway on the international space. And so when they're inviting people, they refer to it as the Arabian Gulf, and, you know, it's influencing individuals. For those who don't know, the Persian Gulf has been called the Persian Gulf since 330 BC. That's been established by the Achaemenid Empire. So over longer than most nations, most Western nations have been in existence, the Persian Gulf has been called the Persian Gulf. Now, it's really important to remember that the April 30th, it marks, like Imogen said, it was Persian Gulf Day. I'm looking at my notes to make sure I get it right. It's the anniversary celebrated by the Safavid ruler Shah Abbas I, and it was when they won a military campaign against the Portuguese Navy in 1622, when basically these foreign colonial forces were forced out of the Persian Gulf. So that day commemorates that specific event, but we also mark it now because since the 1960s and this pan-Arab movement, and trying to get the name Persian Gulf erased, if you look at Google Maps, in certain areas, they actually put Arabian Gulf in brackets, or sometimes it's Arabian Gulf and Persian Gulf in brackets. So the day is incredibly important to mark for all Iranians. If this matters to you, I know it's just a name, but it's our history, and it is associated to our country. And the more you let it slide, the more you don't use the word Persian Gulf, or you just call it the Gulf, you're helping erase our history. So not only do we mark it on that day, but it's really important to make it clear that there's no disagreement. This has forever been called the Persian Gulf, and the name should not be changed, along with our territorial integrity.
Updates about protesters and detainees?
Yes. So please pay attention to this segment. I would love for everyone to really take a moment and understand what it's like to, or just even fathom whatever your religious belief is. It doesn't matter what your religious belief is. Imagine solely for whatever it is, whether you're Christian or Jewish or Zoroastrian or Muslim or whatever, that your existence and your right to everything else that society has is denied. And you have absolutely no recourse. From the moment you are born, you know that come a certain age, you will no longer have access to education, that you will no longer have access to certain healthcare systems. You will no longer be free to do business. This is the reality of Baha'i Iranians. This has been the reality of Baha'i Iranians since the 1979 revolution. And essentially since the Islamic takeover of basically what was Iran. And this is a reality that during the revolution has gotten even worse, because Baha'i Iranians are unlawfully and unjustly targeted all the time, simply just for being Baha'i. And if you're familiar with the faith, these are individuals who are prescribed not to get involved in politics. These are usually individuals who do not get involved in massive protests. They will, voice opinions, but it will never be partaking in any sort of violent way or in any sort of public way. And unfortunately, the story hits close to homes. We have for several weeks mentioned how Baha'is have been targeted, but this week we have the story of Hushidar Zari, who is a relative of one of our uniters, Shiva Jahani. And God knows I've been emotional talking about him, and I know we're running short on time, but I want to speak about him because he's a judo coach. He's a prominent member of the judo community, not only in Iran, but internationally. He was supposed to go to the Olympics in Australia, but he was taken off the flight by Islamic regime forces solely because he's Baha'i. They did not want him to represent Iran. Like, this is the duress that this man has lived through. He has a wife and a 12-year-old daughter, and despite all of this, he has still managed to create a successful business for himself. And this weekend, he was arrested on his way to work by the Islamic regime forces. They have ransacked his home. And I'm getting emotional again because these stories are absolutely unjust, but when they hit close and when you know it's your loved one, please go on either my profile or check out Shiva Saber's profile. She's here. do what you can to help spread the message of this individual. His name is Hushidar Zari, and he has been unjustly arrested. He's done absolutely nothing wrong, and he was innocently going to work, and he has been arrested. The latest news is that he's been denied visitors, and they've told them to come back in a week or two, but who knows what's going to happen in a week or two. So please use the hashtag #FreeHushidar. Please help share his story. We can't let these stories, I know it's one in hundreds of thousands of people who've gone missing, but every single one of these stories matter, and we hope that you'll help us amplify their voices.
Yeah, and when I was speaking to Shiva today, apparently they gave him like 1 minute to call his mother or something. I mean, it really is just heartbreaking how this group of individuals are being treated. You do have your action items this week as well, Paris?
Yeah, so for sure, hashtag #FreeHushidar. There are other detainees that we want to highlight. We'll definitely highlight the rest of them next week. But hashtag IRGC terrorists, that is something that we're going to continue to highlight. We're not speaking of part of the IRGC. We are saying that the entire IRGC as a whole must be considered a terrorist organization. So hashtag IRGC terrorist. We definitely want to remember Jamshid Sharmad. So save Sharmad. He's another individual who's on death row in Iran unjustly. We want to remember Tumaj Salehi. Every week we say his name, hashtag Tumaj Salehi. And of course, Mahsa Amini, Iran Revolution, and the journalists who brought this story to us, and Naz Mohammadi and Niloufar.
And your final message for our listeners, please. I'm sorry, I've been emotional for the last 5 minutes because Shiva Sabri is such an incredible human, and she's done so much for.
I know, I've been the same. The story of her cousin, I like rehearsed it 5 times so I wouldn't cry. It's unreal, especially when it hits close to home like this, and there's literally, Imanjul, like there's nothing we can do for her, and she's
literally
she gives
producing
so much,
tonight's
and we know
episode.
how,
You know, like what it's like literally she's part of the story, and she's creating the story. And Shiva, you just know that our entire United family is by your side right now.
and anything we can do, honestly, if we can help share his story, is just hashtag. But Elika Afilban always says, say their names to save their lives, and this is the most we can do. It's terrifying to think all our hands are tied. And the other thing you guys should know is that when families start to make noise and when they show up, they also get arrested. Sometimes they arrest their children to make a point. So when these things happen, it's like on one side you want to help amplify their voices and help them out, but on the other side, you know that their family, the entire family, is now under threat and duress, that the rest of them will be arrested. And we know that that's a likelihood because they are Baha'i, and it's just, this revolution needs to not only happen, but we need to make amends with individuals who've been wronged for so long.
Your final message, at least let's end it on some kind of a funny note. You always, and I also want to give a shout out to Masa Townsend, who's joining us right now, and Azad Afsai. These are 2 incredible Shirzans and freedom fighters. Appreciate you guys joining in. Appreciate you guys for everything you do and you have done for the past 7 months. So love you, ladies. And for everybody else who's been joining, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. Give your final message, and then we're going to have Shiva Jahani come on. If she doesn't request to join, Mona Jun, please be ready to come on before her and give her some time. Go ahead, Parishon.
Just on a light note, our language is called Persian, just like the Gulf is called Persian Gulf. Let's call it the Persian Gulf. Let's call our language Persian. In English, the name of the language is Persian, just like when we speak in Persian, the name of the language is Farsi. وقتی به فارسی حرف میزنیم میگیم ما فارسی حرف میزنیم، نمیگیم ما Persian حرف میزنیم. And when we talk in English, we say when we talk in English, we say I speak Persian.
Thank you so much for your weekly reminder, and thank you again, as always, Parishon, for everything that you do to be so prepared, so that you drop us all this knowledge that you always do. Much love to you. Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you.
All right. We do have Dr. Shiva Jahani joining us right now. Thank you again to Parishon for bringing us the latest and greatest. Hi, Shiva Jahani.
Hi, salam, Iman.
To see you.
Good.
Appreciate
Good to see you.
joining us from the beautiful city of Orlando. You know, we all know it, just especially right now, we're getting all emotional. So it's actually a perfect time for you to help us out here even the best of us can get caught up with these emotions. You have 7 steps to help us respond to our emotions more effectively. And the first 2 steps involve what?
Okay, so thank you so much for having me. I'm so sorry for hearing, those news about Shiva Saber. I want to say, Shiva, we love you, and I'm so grateful for you all and Uniters to be together and just comforting each other, and that's so important that we have this community. And thank you to you, Iman, for creating and facilitating this community.
I appreciate it.
Safe to share. So the first 2 set of steps that I want to talk about is like, first, we have to take responsibility. We have to be responsible about our feelings, our emotions, and accepting them. Because when we are not feeling responsible, so we just blame on others, and we say it's not on our control. So when we are accepting, we're just saying I'm responsible for responsibility. You just dealing with that, like, okay, I'm going to visit my friend and I'm really sad and upset and everything. And second is like identify our emotions. It's so important to pay attention to our emotions and identify them. For example, I should check and say, how am I feeling? And then label them and pay attention. So we should so specific about them and clear. Then we know what emotion we are having, and then we can just go the next step to deal with them and witness them. So the third steps is witnessing our emotion. It's like tune into our body. So when we tune on our body, we just can deal with our emotion. We can just locate which area they are feeling are stuck. So that's the step we have to just take first, like take a responsibility over our emotion, and second step, identify our emotion, and third step is just witnessing our emotion. So after we taking those steps, because it's there are times when we are in life, when we are may feel like our negative emotion is is a lot. I'm not going to deal with them. They're not going away at all. So those steps will help us to just feel like they will be go away, and we will just get rid of them. And then when we are going to those steps, the after the step is kind of like releasing our stress, and our emotion. So releasing our emotion is through yoga, through walking, swimming, meditation, or just walking meditation, and doing Tai Chi. So, and yoga is a very good, physical and activity. It's just good way to deal with, to release our emotions. And when we are just, finding the best practice for us, we should make this as routines. So this is so important for us to find the best of those things, activity and movement, and just practice it as our routines. And then next step is like expressing our emotions, and like now yoga is expressing our emotions. So it's just important for us to just express and share. So those are like coming together, when we are expressing, like bringing out, like into writing. You just write a letter. So when we are writing a letter and bringing out our emotions, is helping us to get closer to accept our emotion.
Is that why journaling is also very helpful, to kind of like do something in the morning and evenings?
Yes, and it should be private. We don't need to share with anyone our writing. Just we can keep it private, but it will help us. It will help us to get closer to accept our emotions, and and just those is the steps that we need to take. And after that, we need to share with people we trust. Like here, we know these people who are caring about that. We know they are not going to judge. There is no good and bad. It's just all about love and comfort. We are listening to each other. We are accepting each other. So that's what sharing. And therapists, then we can get help from therapists with sharing our emotions, and the people who are good listener and not judging us, and there is some place for feedback, but for this type of emotion, we don't need feedback. We just need to listen to each other. And
then I think there's the final step that I like the most. What is step 7?
Oh, celebrate when we are releasing. Yes.
You almost forgot about the best step, huh?
Yeah, celebrating and with dancing and with just dancing could be part of movement for just releasing. I forgot to say, please dance more to release your stress. But celebrating is like doing sound healing. Come to me, and I will do sound healing on your body. So sound healing, massage, and just some kind of like a drinking tea. For me, tea is also, celebration. So whenever you release your stress and your emotion to the universe, please take time and just go and celebrate your, your feelings that, you are not really your emotions. You are love, you are matter, and be happy. So that's what I can say. And practice self-care, go for walk, just drink tea, coffee. That's what I just do sometimes. And come to me, have sound healing therapy, and what are other things that I can say? You meditation also, you do some kind of like a pause and think nothing and just help yourself to find more about who you are. So those are just, I would recommend for people to celebrate.
I like it. All right. Well, those are the 7 steps of emotional cleaning. Take responsibility, identify the emotion, witness the emotion, release the emotion, express the emotion, share the emotion, and then, as Sada just said in the group chat, celebrate good times. Come on. Okay, see? That is the last time I'm going to be singing on this live stream. Actually, no, I'll probably do it again sometime too. All right, Shiva, thank you so much for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, feel free to follow her at Jahani.life right here. She's got great content. You can do a lot of different type of sound healing with her, and a lot of great stuff that can hopefully help you center all the craziness in your life. So thank you so much, Shiva, joining us from Orlando. Shout out to you. Take care. Ciao. Bye-bye. All right. We're going to keep on going because after this Uniters segment, we're going to be having our special guest, Sarah Raviani. So stay tuned. She's done a lot of great things with the Massa Act. But before we get to Sarah, our special guest is going to be our special uniter, Miss Mona Haghighi.
Hi.
Hi, Mona. How are you?
Good. I'm wearing my Free Too Much shirt.
All right. Yeah. Actually, let's just get right to it. What did we do on Sunday?
I'm gonna get right to it, but how do I follow these two? Shiva June and Paris June. It's embarrassing. So
not at all. You'll figure out a way.
Some of the uniters, we basically recreated Too Much's song and video, Surah Mush. And so we lip synced to his song, and it was amazing. I'm so proud of everyone that participated. It was beautiful in South Beach, and we did a great job, I think. I'm excited for the video to come out.
I don't know if Azadeh is still here, but she's going to be very proud of this Too Much Salihi video. Yeah, everybody had their verses down, and it's going to be edited hopefully very soon, and we're going to release it in a couple of weeks, and we hope that it will help bring more noise, which will then hopefully get our lion out of the prison that he has been in for the last God knows how many days. So yeah, very happy with what happened.
Over 185 days already.
Insanity. All right, so what else do we have from a Uniters update, Mona Jo?
This Saturday, May 6th, Chelsea Hart is coming to Miami. She is coming for she's doing her comedy show Damet Gam.
That's right.
But it's also going to be a nice event with networking and getting to know Iranians and non-Iranians that are joining with food and drinks. It's going to be a really, really nice event. So if you haven't bought your tickets yet, please do. It's this Saturday, and you shouldn't really miss it. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I know some people are in South Florida getting excited for the F1 Formula Series, but this event starts at 7 p.m. A great cocktail hour, some Persian appetizers, Persian-inspired cocktails, and then you get to have a great 1-hour comedy show and some personal stories on one of the loudest freedom fighters, non-Iranian freedom fighters that we've had. And then you have a nice meet and greet. So it's a very great, intimate type of gathering this Saturday, May 6th, South Beach. Click my link or the United and Conquer Instagram bio so that you can purchase your tickets before they're all gone. What else do we have coming up?
May 26th, Friday, May 26th. We are uniters, and hopefully other people, Iranians, non-Iranians, it doesn't matter, that live in South Florida, in downtown Miami for critical mass. It's a bicycle event. Anyone can join. You don't have to sign up. You just come with your bicycle, hopefully with a helmet, so you're safe, and a water bottle. And it's a ride about 14 to 18 miles around Miami. And they give you a map around Miami to ride. And we're just going to go and bring our flags and our shirts, stickers, whatever that we can to represent Iran and the revolution. And so it's going to be really cool and fun event. I'm excited about that.
Amazing. What else do we have going on? As if we don't have enough stuff going on.
Very exciting. July 3rd, we are having our first, and hopefully first of many more.
Yeah.
What are we? Okay, we Azadi Festival.
He's the first person that's announcing it. Yeah.
To be a huge festival with entertainers and I mean, you explain it. I'd love.
So first of all, originally we were thinking about calling it Countdown to Freedom Iran Festival, but then after a great strategy session today, we decided to do a last minute, switch up, and we're like, you know what, we need to make it a little bit shorter. We need to make it a little bit more powerful. And we're like, you know what have we been asking for 44 long years for our motherland? It's been Azadi. And like, what gets Iranians out and excited? A festival. So you put that together and this together and you get what? Azadi
Yeah,
Festival.
Azadi in Washington, D.C. It's going to be incredible. And it's going to be live streamed for free.
That's right.
But I mean, obviously, it's not going to beat actually going there and enjoying food and drinks. And
it's going to be activists, celebrities, DJs, musicians. If you're excited about Azadi Festival, I need you to drop some peace signs in the comment section. If you're actually going to try to figure out to make it to the nation's capital on Monday, July 3rd, for a festival that will start at 1:11 p.m. and go to 1:11 a.m. with a ton of DJs, musicians, live performances, comedians, rock stars, superstars, freedom fighters. I mean, listen, there's only one place on earth that Iranians should be on July 3rd other than our homeland, and that is hopefully in the nation's capital. Shahin Jan, Durud bar Shoma Aziz. We're going to have you on a future episode of this program very soon. We have a lot to catch up on. You've been doing a lot of stuff with your rapping. Can't wait to have you back on one of our live streams. But yeah, so that's what's happening on Monday, July 3rd. Please go ahead after this live stream, put it in your calendar, mark it, and start looking at flights, because I'm telling you, there's going to be thousands of people. I'm going back to my hometown of DC. I've been there for 30 years. If you're in the DMV, we're coming for you. And by coming for you, we just mean like we need to hug you and we need to like come together, because the one thing that this revolution is truly missing right now is true unity for those who want a free and secular Iran. Free and secular Iran. Free and secular Iran. No, this is not a life being cut off. I'm repeating it because there's a difference between people that are looking and fighting for a free and secular Iran, and those are the individuals that we want on July 3rd. So more information coming for the Azadi Festival. Cannot wait to share all the details of who the superstars are that are going to be joining. And yeah, so I'm excited. Azadi Afsai, please mark your calendar. I need you there, July 3rd. We need all the brothers and sisters who've been fighting for 7 months to come together and just be under one roof, both in person and then also virtually through the live stream. So we hope to be reaching tens, if not hundreds of thousands of compatriots and non-Iranians, because let's face it, we need this unity. We need this hambasigi. We need to come together. We need to be okay with wanting to celebrate and being happy, but also at the same time, use that unity to fight for what we're really fighting for, which is Azadi. So that's the whole situation. What else we got, Mona Jo? I got so excited, I'm rambling. Go ahead.
I'm very excited about all of this. Just a reminder, we shared the critical mass flyer already, and all the details are in all of our bios and stories, and we shared it everywhere. So if you follow it, you'll see it. We will soon share the Azadi. I'm sorry, that was my daughter. We'll soon share the flyer for the Azadi Festival, and we'll give you all the details to come. And so, yeah, and Shaheen will be very proud of us for the Too Much video once he sees
Yeah, I
it.
think so too. Shaheen, Mona is a big fan of yours. She was like, "Do you know this Shaheen guy? He's great. He does all this stuff." I was like, "Shaheen, of course." So I think she's gonna be excited to have you on as a countdown very, very soon. All right, Mona Jo, thank you so much. Appreciate. Is that everything? Did we cover everything?
Yes, we covered everything.
All right,
Thank you.
perfect. Thank you so much. Bomida Azadi, Shab Bakhair. And I see here that Sarah June's mom is, she wants to make cutlet. I don't know if she's talking about like right now, because I'm really craving cutlet right now, or if she's planning to bring it to July 3rd to the Azadi Festival. But Hanuma Kazumi, I'll take cutlet from you 7 days a week and twice on Sundays. So yes, please make it. And I need to have it be with the accompaniment of a poem by your husband, Ai Kazumi. So if you guys can do cutlet and poem by the Kazumis, I think that's a perfect day. All right, ladies and gentlemen, on to our special guest this evening. She's an Iranian American activist based in Dallas, Texas. She's actively working on legislative advocacy, such as the MASA Act, like I previously mentioned, in support of the people of Iran. I first came across her when I saw Massa Townsend mentioning her, and then last week when the MASA Act actually passed through the Foreign House Committee, I checked out her Instagram story, and you could sense such pride and such joy and so much passion and purpose behind everything that she was doing. So I immediately reached out, and I was like, I need to hear her story about how she got involved in this stuff and what she's been doing to kick some ass and where we at right now. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please put your virtual hands together for an amazing freedom fighter that has done so much for what we've been trying to pass, which is the MASA Act. So please help me welcome Sarah Raviani. Hi, Sarah June. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing good. How are you?
Excellent. Great to have you from the beautiful city of Dallas, Texas.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm absolutely honored to be here. I'm so excited. Thank you.
Pleasure. So, considering I unfortunately just had the pleasure of getting to know you virtually just a week or two ago, let's just start off by getting to know you a little bit. You know, you say you've been learning as you go and found your passion working towards the MASA Act. How did you find yourself doing advocacy work to begin with?
Well, I am of Iranian descent, so I kind of just naturally fell into it. But I always tell people, you know, I had never even attended a protest prior to what happened in September. I was never like a social justice warrior for any cause, but, you know, this is near and dear to my heart, so it's something I'm very passionate about, and that's how I began. I found myself for many, many months just, you know, so upset. I would sit in my room alone. I would cry myself to sleep. And it was really, really hard. And I wanted to find something that I could do that would make a difference. And so that is how I actually got involved in legislative advocacy. And so, yes, it's been a learning process. Totally self-taught. I'm learning as I go. I'm making new friends, and you know, a lot of people are helping me along the way. But it's been a total passion project. I work full-time outside of it, and so I just find little pockets of time to you know, make calls to representatives, to do Twitter Spaces, to join Instagram Lives such as yours. So that's how I kind of got involved.
So imagine somebody like right now didn't know anything about the MASA Act. What exactly is the MASA Act, and like where are we now after this milestone that we hit last week?
So the MASA Act is a piece of legislation that codifies sanctions against the Supreme Leader of Iran and the President of Iran in their respective offices. There are currently sanctions set in place by executive order, but what we are aiming to do with the MASA Act is codify those sanctions so that they become United States law. So if you don't know anything about the MASA Act, and this is the first time you're hearing about it, what I can recommend that you do is go to congress.gov, and then at the very top there's a little search bar, and you can search MASA Act, or you can search HR 589. And that's where you'll be able to find the co-sponsors that have signed on to this legislation. You'll be able to find the full text of the bill and all of the information all about it. It's all there, congress.gov.
And so what exactly like happened last week that got you so excited, so emotional? Like, I mean, I love your story about it, and like literally your IG story about it. So what exactly happened and what's coming up next now?
So it got marked up in the House Foreign Affairs Committee last week. So the markup session took place. I was watching it live. I'm in Dallas, so I was not able to attend in Washington, D.C., unfortunately, but I was sending all of my fellow activists selfies of me. I was crying. You know, it brought tears to my eyes to just hear, you know, the people of Iran's names being spoken on Capitol Hill. It was absolutely groundbreaking and such a surreal experience. It is a miracle almost that it got marked up and that we've come this far with it. We worked for months and months and months to get it marked up. We did a Twitter storm on Twitter that I think surpassed like 200,000 tweets. And we were just tweeting Chairman Michael McCall, he's based in, I believe, near College Station in Texas. He is the chair of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. We were tweeting at him. We had a whole campaign, hashtag Call McCall, and he heard our voices and he marked up the bill, and it actually passed and made it out of committee. And if you don't know anything about, you know, legislation, that's a very, very big deal. I think something like 90% of bills die in committee every single year. So it's very, very great that our community that's not very politically involved was able to accomplish this. And that's why I was, you know, so fired up on my Instagram story and so excited because it was such a huge deal.
So what is the next step right now? Like, where are we at right now? What are we waiting for, I guess?
So right now we are waiting for final confirmation on the verbiage of the bill. That was something that was up in the air before the markup. There was question of whether it was going to get watered down or not. So we are waiting to hear back with next steps. We do have some positive confirmation from Representative Corey Mills out of Florida. He did introduce an amendment during the markup session that restored some of the strength of the original verbiage of the bill. So we are waiting to get final word on that. But in the meantime, we are still trying to garner support for this legislation. We are still calling representatives and asking that they co-sponsor the MASSA Act, HR 589, once again. So I put out call lists every single week with me and a few fellow activists, and then we call ourselves the MASSA Act Army. And so we're like a group of activists on Twitter, all working toward this legislation, and we are all calling. It's actually the unity and the strength and everything that we've accomplished is so incredible to see. Like I said, we're not, as Iranian Americans, we're not a very politically involved community. So to see everyone rallying behind this legislation and so many people supporting it, it's been such a lovely experience.
Well, I know obviously Massa Townsend, she was involved. I know Nick and Mel, and I see Emily Sharif, she was also involved. Who else is part of the army, and how else can others join this army of yours to make you guys stronger? Because what you all are doing is a very important element of this war that we're in. And so every unit needs to be bulked up, strengthened. So first of all, shout out to them. If you want to give a shout out to anybody else, go ahead. And then how can we build up your army?
So I see a ton of them in the comments. I see Azin, I see Bita. We have some amazing women and men that are all working toward, you know, this legislation. It's honestly too many to name. These people are absolutely incredible. And if you want to get involved, I suggest very first place to start is to find your representative. You can do that on, I believe it is congress.gov /find your representative. or find your rep. I'm not exactly sure exactly what link, but if you Google it, there is a way to find your representative. I can help you if you message me. If anyone's listening and does need some guidance, please message me. I'd love to help. That's a great place to get started, is to find your representative and request a meeting with them and kind of make, this a priority in your town locally. It's amazing what can happen when you go and meet with your representative. I did it myself, and my representative is now a co-sponsor of the bill. I found an event he was hosting. It was like a little coffee event. I showed up at like 7 a.m. in the morning. It was totally not my crowd, totally out of my comfort zone, but I showed up anyways, and I, started talking to him, and I was just like, hey, this is what's going on. This is what I'm working on. I'm an Iranian American, and we are fighting for our freedom in Iran and for democracy. And then he started following up with me. I was like shocked that it was happening. I was like, oh my gosh, like you think that there's such a divide for us, right? We think like, they're up here and we're like down here, and they're so hard to reach. But, once you get your foot in the door with your representative, it's an amazing way to get the ball rolling and just ask that they co-sponsor the bill. And then beyond that, like I said, we do our call lists every single week. So we have a select few like high priority representatives that we want to support the bill. And what we do is we all call, and all we say is, hi, my name is so-and-so, I'm an Iranian American, or, whatever, and I'm requesting that Representative so-and-so co-sponsor the MASA Act HR 589. It's very simple. We usually put out like 5 or 6 reps a week that we like to focus on. And then I think it takes, like for me, you can do it in like 5-10 minutes, just little pockets of time. If you can't call all 6 reps, if you just call, like, let's say 1 a day, or even like just a few a week, that will make a difference. And it's a way that you can help that actually makes a change. And I think that's one of the coolest parts about working in legislative advocacy, is that you can see, the changes being made. It's a tangible difference, and it's not just like doom scrolling on Instagram, doom scrolling on Twitter. It's ways you can actually help and kind of see like the product of your hard work come to fruition.
It's amazing when you are privileged to live in a democracy where these things are so doable. So you're doing the things that we shouldn't be taking for granted, and that is being able to take advantage of the fact that we can actually be part of the change that we're trying to look for. So kudos to you. So you were saying earlier how like you've never actually been involved in this kind of stuff. Do you remember the catalyst of like, you're like, I'm not going to sit around and do nothing. I'm going to get involved. Was there a turning point?
When the political prisoners started being executed in December, that is when I found myself in like a very, very dark place emotionally. I would, sit in my room and like sit on the floor in my bathroom and just be sobbing. And I was like, I felt like I couldn't breathe. It felt like the wind was knocked out of me. And I was like, I can't just sit by and just watch these things happening. I have to be more involved. I was going to protests already. I was posting on Instagram, but it just felt like it wasn't enough. And so I started working on posting more political things, even though it wasn't something I was super comfortable with. And I started getting really positive feedback. My mom actually said like, oh my gosh, Sarah, I really liked your Instagram story today. It was all, politically relevant. And she was like, I really liked that. I really liked that there was like action items, like something that we could do. It wasn't so sad. And I think that turning something so negative into something that can be a little bit positive is something that's a really beautiful and special thing that we all can do, and everyone can get involved. It's not out of reach. It's not too hard. Like you said, we live in a beautiful country, a beautiful democracy where we can make our voices heard. And so just getting involved, registering to vote, contacting your representatives and making your voice heard is something that's really, really, really important. And I just can't stress it enough.
You recently shared a tweet saying, remember who you're fighting for, with images of your Iranians who have been killed by the regime. Are there stories of ones that touch you the most?
Yes. They're all, young kids under the age of 18. And they were just children that stories really touched me. And, oftentimes we can get kind of lost in the noise and in the drama, and you know, we get caught up in our own lives. And that's why I tweeted that, because I was like, you know, these were humans, these were children, these were daughters, these were sons, these were brothers and sisters who lost their lives because they were fighting for their freedom. And I feel so privileged to be, you know, in this country. Something my dad always tells me, he says, Sarah, don't ever forget, you live in the most beautiful country, in the most beautiful state in the world. We're very proud Texans. And he always tells me that. And that's something I've always remembered. And I'm, you know, I'm so blessed and so lucky to have been born here and to have a voice and, you know, to make my voice heard. And I want to be the voice for the voiceless. And so I want everyone to remember, when they get wrapped up in, you know, who said what and who's doing what and what's going on outside of all of this, that at the end of the day, we're fighting for the hundreds of, you know, innocent lives that were lost in Iran, you know, last year and into this year. And for the past 44 years, we've lost way too many people to this regime. And I feel like every Iranian is my family member. I feel like we are all in this together. Everyone, you know, whether they're in America, whether they're abroad, whether they're in Iran, everyone feels, if you're of Iranian descent, you are my brother, you are my sister, and I want to stand right beside you and be your voice in any way I can. Even if, you know, you're here in America, if I can help you by getting you in touch with your rep or just by inspiring you or anything, I want to be able to make that difference.
You know, you mentioned earlier that like your mom was like rooting for you, which is very rare. Normally parents, Iranian parents, I don't know if your mom is also Iranian, but they usually kind of like don't get involved. And like just in general, so many people look at politics and advocacy as something that they should not get involved with. What made you believe that you could make a difference?
Well, I have a great support system. Both of my parents, my brother, my family, they're all very supportive of me. My friends, everyone loves what I'm doing. My aunts, my uncles, you know, it's, some people don't know exactly what's going on, but they're like, oh my gosh, Sarah, I love this. And I, you know, I have people in my corner that are backing me up 100%. And so that's what makes me feel like, you know, empowered to keep going. And, you know, just positive feedback from everyone in our community. I've met some amazing people through this process, and it's just those connections and that unity that just, you know, really empowers you and your voice. Once you start making those connections to feel like, hey, look, like, you know, I'm actually making a difference. I'm connecting with these really amazing people and I'm doing great things. So you know, I've heard it from, you know, congressmen too, when I call, a lot of times they don't believe that I'm not a part of an organization. They're like, so you just happen to have 20 people call in the last 10 minutes and you're not a part of an organization. And I tell them, look, Iranian Americans, you don't understand how united we are behind this cause and behind this legislation. It's something, you know, it's amazing. And sometimes when I am on the phone with them, they refer to the Massa Act Army or the other people that are making these calls as my colleagues. And so if that just kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of, you know, how professional and how united we are, yeah, that's definitely, it's something that makes me laugh. But then also when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, okay, you know, this is making a difference. We are changing the political landscape, you know, here in the United States and abroad when it comes to Iran by making our voices heard.
What makes you have so much faith in the Massa Act?
I think that, you know, we have 101 co-sponsors, 56 Republicans and 44, or I believe 44. It's a pretty even split. And that, I've talked to so many people, they're like, oh my God, how did you get, you know, Jim Banks and Eric Swalwell, two representatives, polar opposite sides of the political spectrum? How did you get them to come together on this? And, you know, just seeing all, you know, both sides of the aisle. It's not just a Republican thing. It's not just a Democrat thing. Seeing everyone, even just regular Americans, rally behind this, you know, it's incredible. And I saw Massa just say in the comments, you know, it's just the beginning. this for us is like our stepping stone. We're like getting our feet in the water with the MASA Act. You know, we obviously really do believe in this legislation, but there's so much more we want to accomplish, and we're really building our advocacy framework to, you know, go after the next thing and, you know, everything that we have coming up. There's a lot.
I want to end this segment with you just sharing with us what a free Iran would mean for you.
Oh my gosh. It would mean the world to be able to go to Iran and to hug my loved ones, and it would be absolutely, absolutely phenomenal. I've heard that, you know, when you get off, I've actually never been to Iran. That's something that surprises a lot of people because I'm so passionate about it. I've heard, you know, when you step off the plane, it's like a different smell. Everything about it is different. I want to, you know, just like go and kiss the floor and see everything, and I would just love to be able to see where my roots are from. That's one of my biggest driving factors in this whole fight, is that I want to, you know, see where I'm from and experience that, and it would just be, you know, an amazing, amazing, amazing experience.
No doubt. Sarah, I feel like I could talk a lot more with you because you're clearly so passionate about Iran and fighting for so many of the voiceless. I just want to take a moment on behalf of all the Uniters, and I'm sure many people that are tuning in and showing you some love, that we are grateful for everything you've been doing. You've gone above and beyond the last few months, and thank you for everything you're doing, and keep on doing it. I hope that you continue to get the energy and the love and the support from the Iranian community to do this fight that you're doing that is so important for us. So just a big thank you from all of us, and that you now have the entire Uniters family on your back and rooting for you, and the entire MASA army that you guys have put together. So whatever you guys need, the Uniters are a phone call away, and we're here to support you in any shape or form possible.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I'm so glad to have been able to be on and share a little bit about my story. Thank you.
It was a beautiful story. Appreciate you. And July 3rd for the Azadi Festival, this is a good reason for you to come and join us in DC for the ultimate gathering of freedom fighters such as yourself. Sergeant Shab Khair, Zan Zindagi Azadi va Ba Umid Azadi. Good night.
Yeah.
Take care. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please show some love for Sarah as she's signing off. If you enjoyed getting to know
how to get off is the only thing. Do I just click X?
Yeah, top right, there's a little X button. It's you can say on to the background as everybody shows you love. Good night. Take care.
Okay, thank you.
Master Townsend, we appreciate you as well. Azad Afsai, thank you so much. Emily, so much. So many of the Master Army is here. And it's really just great to see so many amazing Shirzan working together hand in hand, supporting each other and doing some incredible work. So keep on doing all this amazing stuff, ladies. Do not be this, and gentlemen, whoever is involved. Wishing you guys all the best, because what you're doing is making a massive, massive impact. Ladies and gentlemen, this ends episode 18 of Countdown to Freedom in Iran. It actually started with Master Townsend, episode 1. So we've come far. Always grateful for anybody that joins us. Please continue joining us here every single Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Unite and Conquer. Follow the Let's Unite and Conquer Instagram page. We would love to have you as part of more programs. Tell everybody about Countdown. It's very important that we continue to have conversations like this. It's very important that we continue to put a spotlight on freedom fighters like Sarah. So we're going to continue doing this, and we hope to continue having your support. July 3rd, more information coming for the Azadi Festival in the nation's capital. You got to be here for that one. Thank you so much, Shiva Sabir, for producing tonight's episode, Paris Mansouri for the news updates, Shiva Jahani for the incredible mindful moment, and of course, my sister from another mister, Mona Haghighi, for the United's update. Much love to you guys. Woman, life, freedom, Zan Zindagi Azadi, Shab Khair, Ciao, bye.